This is the Harry Loomis Show.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Happy NFL season eve. It is the morning of Wednesday, September 4th, and today is one of my favorite days of the year. Any day we can make predictions on an upcoming sports season is a good day in my book. So, with me to help christen the 2024 NFL season is my good friend, Kenan Bjelevac. Kenan, how are you doing over at the Simpsons living room?
Bro, like the weather's starting to calm down, the fall air is starting to kick in. I'm seeing the pumpkin spice lattes at Starbucks, but that certain smell in the air. Football is back, both college and the NFL, like you said, kicking off tomorrow. Chiefs, Ravens, the best time of the year. Like after all that summer shenanigans, just time to bring it back, baby.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the smell of apple coming from my room or the smell of kind of maple pumpkiny in the living room because my girlfriend decorated for fall over the weekend, but just something in the air. We're ready for football season. And for those that don't know, my friend Kanat here is a big Detroit Lions fan. So for the first time, he has legitimate Super Bowl aspirations. And what does that feel like? You're on the good side of being an NFL fan.
It feels great. I've been praying for moments like this, bro. We are long past the 0 and 16 days, the 1 and 15 days, the 4 and 12 days, the 7 and 9, 7 and 9, 3 and 13. It's over. And this is a new era in Detroit football. We got an elite squad, playmakers on both sides of the ball, a fantastic head coach. I'm excited. I really am. But our division is going to be a fight for first.
Yeah, we're gonna get into that for a little bit. That AFC or that NFC North is gonna be really good. And by the way, Dan Campbell, pretty good actor too. I don't know if you saw that Applebee's commercial, but definitely in his element there.
I mean, in St. Louis, we really don't have access to like Detroit football, like anything, like even if the players and the coaches were acting, like we wouldn't see it. But I am going to check it out on Twitter after this. I'm going to let you know, and if he convinces me to go get some Applebee's, then I'll go get some Applebee's.
I'm not a big Applebee's guy, but it made me want some Applebee's, so that's pretty telling. All right, we're
Neither
just
am
gonna
I, but
yeah, we're just gonna jump right into this. We've made a couple predictions. We're gonna go through our division winners, our wild cards. We're gonna lay out a sleeper team. We're gonna make an MVP pick as well as an offensive player of the year and defensive player of the year. We're gonna tell you who the best rookie quarterback is. Spoiler alert, gonna be hard to beat Caleb Williams this year. And what I told Kanan to do specifically, I'm looking for a hipster Super Bowl matchup. Don't give me the Chiefs. Don't give me the Niners. I don't even really want the Rams. Not sure if I want the Eagles. I don't even know if I want the Ravens. Go bold.
well,
Let's
yep.
let's get a bold Super Bowl pick, and then we'll end the week. We'll end the preview with a lock and an upset pick for Week 1 of the NFL season. So let's start all the way back at the top. We're gonna go to the AFC. And right off the bat, maybe the toughest division in the league to try to figure out is going to be the AFC East. You've got three teams really that could vie for that division title for the second year in a row. Obviously, this didn't go to plan last year with Aaron Rodgers tearing his Achilles about 4 minutes into his tenure with the New York Jets. So it sounds like it's going to be a matter of whether the Bills, the Dolphins, or the Jets win this division. Kenan, who do you have winning the AFC East?
Well, when I originally did my research, it was Josh Allen and the Bills. Even with the loss of Stephon Diggs, um, I had them. But when I'm looking at it and I'm seeing the Dolphins reloading and upgrading, and they have that core and Waddle, Tyreek, Tua with a fantastic head coach. Aaron Rodgers coming back, and that Jets defense is phenomenal. The Patriots still ages away, but they're improving as fast as they possibly can because I really like Coach Jared Mayo for them. But for me, I don't have the Bills anymore. I have the Miami Dolphins. I think Tua takes that leap this year to establish himself as the top five quarterback. We've seen the glimpses, and people say, "Oh, it's only because he's playing with Tyreek Hill and Waddle and all these other guys." No, it's not. Like anybody, any quarterback can play with anyone at any given time, but other quarterbacks can't really produce how Tua produces. And I mean, last year, 29 touchdowns, not interceptions. I'm sorry, 29 touchdowns. God, I'm all over the place today. But 4,624 yards, 70% completed percentage with a quarterback rating of 101. Their offensive line has improved. Mike McDaniel's extension with the Dolphins marks mutual success. I got the Dolphins. I really do. I think they're going to surprise a lot of teams this year, and I have them making a deep run.
I like that pick. I'm not going to be as bold on this one. I still think this is Buffalo territory until somebody knocks them off of it. The Dolphins came very close last year, but I still think this is the Bills' division to lose. Josh Allen, like we talked about, is still the best quarterback in this division. I think Sean McDermott is still as good of a head coach as Mike McDaniel, if not better. This is a defense too. We talk so much about the Bills' offense, and for good reason. When you have such a loaded lineup led by Allen and the departing Stephon Diggs. This is a defense that only allowed 18.3 points per game last year. That's fourth in the entire NFL. They're really strong on both sides of the ball. Yes, the Stephon Diggs departure is going to hurt, but guess what? The Chiefs won the Super Bowl the year after trading Tyreek Hill to the Dolphins. I still think that the cream is going to rise to the crop, and this, in my opinion, is still going to be the Bills' division to lose. I think the Dolphins are right there. I think the Jets are just a step back. It really depends on how Aaron Rodgers comes back from that injury. Obviously, he's come back from injuries before. He's broken his collarbone a couple times, but at his age, with his injury too, a torn Achilles is a lot different than a torn ACL. The broken collarbones he's had in the past. I'm really interested to see how he is able to progress throughout the season. But for right now, I'm gonna go with the Bills.
It's interesting you say that because you mentioned the defense. Fantastic defense. That's not. I'm not taking anything away from this, but I do have a question for you, Harry. Last year, Josh Allen's worst year taking care of the ball. 18 interceptions, I think 7, 8 fumbles. If the Bills want to take that next step, he's got to protect the ball and he has to make better reads. He has the best arm in the NFL. I'm not going to deny that. But sometimes his decision making leaves a lot to wonder. What do you think about that? Do you think he's going to take it to the next level this year? But I just don't see it.
That's a good point. He does have a little bit of a turnover reputation, and sometimes that can come with trying to do too much, which paradoxically could be an issue with Stephon Diggs leaving now. He might have to try to do too much because he lost his number one weapon. But also, sometimes circumstances like this make you a smarter quarterback. I think Allen, he's still a young quarterback. He's only coming into his 7th NFL season. I think he's getting better year after year after year after year after year. And I really do have faith in him. I think he's going to be a very good contender for the league MVP. He's not going to be my pick this year, but I think that he is becoming a smarter and smarter quarterback every single time we see him out on the field. And I really don't have any concerns about him taking care of the ball. I think when he does make some mistakes, because nobody's perfect, he's going to make his mistakes here and there. He's going to have a couple fumbles. He's going to have a couple picks. I also think the defense will be there to help bail him out in those situations. I still
I
think this is a
mean,
team that has Super Bowl aspirations, even though they lost Diggs and they had a soul-crushing loss to the Chiefs last year. I still think that if the cards fall right, this is a team that should be playing for the AFC Championship.
I just I don't know with them, man. Like as long as I've known you and you're one of my best friends, you constantly hype up the Bills every year, but they just fail to get the job done when it matters. I just don't see them making a Super Bowl this year or next year. Like I just don't see it. As long as Patrick Mahomes is in that AFC, I just don't see it.
Yeah, we'll get to Mahomes too in a little bit.
Right.
I think if we're talking specifically about who's going to get to the postseason, the Bills always deliver on at least that front. I have
Right.
questions about Miami the last couple of years when Tua's really broken out. They start the season on fire and then they cool off. I think it's going to be a pretty similar situation this year unless they prove me wrong. They're going to show that they're the best offense in the league 10 weeks into the season or so, but weeks 11 to 18 is when they typically started to flounder. There's a reason why they haven't won a playoff game in this era, I think, since the Dan Marino era.
Mhm.
So until they show something later on in the season, I'm going to go with the Bills. And I think we should move on now to the team
Yep.
that was the number one seed in the AFC last year. That's the Baltimore Ravens, who won the AFC North. And spoiler alert, I think they are going to repeat. I went a little boring with the AFC division winners, but I think there's good reason. With the Ravens and really this whole division, it just comes down to health. Is Lamar going to be healthy or not? If he's healthy, no reason why the Ravens can't win this division. If not, they're in trouble. It's pretty clear as day when you have a player that's as dynamic and as heavily used in the team offense as Lamar Jackson is. But I'm going to assume that he is healthy, and I think that they should be a 12-5, 11-6 team and win that division. But I think this division, I think the Steelers are probably the worst team in this division, but they're the best of the worst teams, if that makes any sense. I think they could still go, 9-8 because Tomlin doesn't go under 500. But who's your pick?
Well, yeah, I mean, Mike Tomlin, one of my favorite coaches of all time. That guy just refuses to have a losing season, time in and time out. I don't know how he does it, but he does it every year. For the AFC North, originally, I had the Ravens, Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry. I mean, they're gonna terrorize linebackers. I mean, if I'm facing them, I'm gonna be scared because Lamar, best mobile quarterback in the NFL. We know what King Henry can do, but but I'm going with Joe Shiesty, Joe Burr, the Cincinnati Bengals. Look, like you said, Harry, this is all about health, and when Joe Burrow is healthy, he's top two quarterback in the NFL. We've seen this. We've seen the flashes the last 3 years. He's been proving it. Injuries have been limiting him though. But look, with Jamar Chase, you have T. Higgins, you have Mike Gesicki, a really good O line, Zach Moss. I got the Bengals this year. I really do. I think Joe Burrow is going to go on a tear. We talked about him early a couple of weeks ago. He's going to go on a tear, and I have them being the 1 seed coming out the AFC.
You have the Bengals being the 1 seed.
I have been the Bengals. Look. I know this is absurd because you have the Chiefs, you have the Finns, you have the Bills, Texans, everybody else. But Joe Burrow, when he plays, when he's locked in, like LSU Joe Burrow, when he made the Super Bowl 2 years ago, correct?
2021, 22 season.
Yeah. So yeah, 2, 3. His mentality is on another level. He operates so smoothly. He takes the game into his own hands. It's like time slows down, and he can do anything he wants. He can order a BLT and still find Jamar Chase wide open in the end zone and throw it before it even gets cold. I got the Bengals. I really do. This is probably one of many upsets I have.
I like that pick. I think with the Bengals, it also just comes down to health. I think when healthy, the Ravens and Bengals will be in the playoffs. I have them both making it because I'm assuming that everyone's healthy this year. That's really the big thing it comes down to. But also, you have to take into account the T. Higgins contract situation is a little bit murky. There's rumors of Jamar Chase potentially missing the first game of the season because of a contract dispute. It seems like there's a little bit of trouble in paradise, but I do believe that if Joe Burrow comes back to his form, he always starts seasons slow, but if he's able to come back to the Joe Burrow we know, he should be a top five quarterback in the league, no question about it. I think that those are the pretty clear cut two best teams in the AFC North on a regular basis. I think Cleveland is in that perfect middle tier. I think Deshaun Watson's probably going to hold him back. That contract is honestly looking like one of the worst in the history of sports right now. The fact that he was given $200 million fully guaranteed after all the turmoil he's been through, in addition to not playing football for 2 years, and he's only played 12 games and has not looked very good at all during it. Could he go back to his Houston days? Maybe, but it doesn't seem very likely. I think as great as the Browns defense in particular is, I think that they're going to fall a little bit behind the lead pack there, and then the Steelers are kind of in that same tier as well.
No, yeah, 100%. It's going to be interesting with the Steelers because you have, in my opinion, two QB1s. It's going to be interesting to see how they really split it. Is Russell Wilson going to play the majority? I don't know if he was named the number one starter. Was
He
he?
was.
He
He
was.
was.
So it's just going to be interesting to see how Tomlin just has two QB1s. Like, how does he run it? Does he, if a defense is weak on the run, does he throw Fields in there? If uh, they're weak on the air, do they throw Wilson? It's just going to be interesting to see because we really haven't seen this in a long time. Two arguably QB1s, but there's only one spot. It's just going to be interesting to see how Pittsburgh plays it.
I think it'll be interesting come like week 8 or so because if the Steelers start the season, 3-5 or something like that, I think they're definitely going to make a change. And obviously, there's injuries as well. I think that this is going to be Wilson's spot to lose for the time being, but obviously, he didn't play very well in Denver. In Fields, I'm not a Fields guy. I've been pretty critical of him. I don't have any faith in him as a passer. But if you do need kind of that explosive dual threat running ability, I could see him kind of being a plug and play kind of guy.
It's gonna be interesting to see.
Going to be very interesting to see. We're going to move on now to the AFC South, a division that was won by the Houston Texans last year, something that nobody expected. And I think they're going to repeat. I have the Texans winning this division because I am a huge believer. I'm buying all the stock in CJ Stroud and D'Amico Ryan. That team showed a lot to me last year, in addition to shellacking the Browns in the wild card round as well. I think that this sky is the limit for this Texans team, and I honestly never thought I'd say that about the Houston Texans.
No, I agree. Look, when CJ Stroud plays, he plays like he's a 10-year veteran. And last year was his rookie year, 23 touchdowns, 5 picks, only 5 picks, over 4,000 yards. And he did that, I want to say, because Tank missed like a good 6, 7 games towards the end. And that's really
I think he
impressive.
like broke his leg or something like that. Yeah, Tank
Yep.
missed some time.
Yep. And what a lot of people don't mention that I think is so important is having a veteran quarterback mentoring the new guy, mentoring a future star, and Case Keenum
Yeah.
being that mentor. Oh my God! Look, in my opinion, he's one of the greatest college quarterbacks all time. 3 years of 5,000 plus yards, 40 plus touchdowns. Hey, guy was a dog at Houston, straight dog. But I love it when there's just a good, very good veteran quarterback brings the young guy under his wing, teaches him the X's, the O's, the little stuff that he doesn't see. And it's crazy because CJ Stroud, he's been phenomenal first year, but that the rookie curve, if you don't have a really good team around you, a good room, a good position, then you're not going to succeed. But Stroud begin being mentored by Keenum, going to be really good. We got to talk about the rushing game as well because Devin Singletary, I think he's going to take a really good year this year. Last year, I think he had close to 910, 20 yards, not too sure, 5 touchdowns. And with Nico Collins, you have Tank Dell, Dalton Schultz, Noah Brown, Robert Woods. These are all really good pieces around them. Anthony Richardson is coming back, yes, but I still think Indianapolis is a little bit away from them. Texans, bro. Like, if you were to tell me like 5 years ago that the Texans would be running the AFC South, I would have called you a liar. But hey, we live in crazy times.
We do. And the thing we didn't even mention is Stephon Diggs is now there. That's your new wide receiver one along with Tank Dell. And, I don't think it's going to be as big of a loss for Josh Allen because he's such a mobile quarterback and he can win a game
Right.
with the legs if he needs to. CJ Stroud, meanwhile, he only rushed for 167 yards this year on 39 attempts. He is a pocket passer. He is a pretty typical quarterback. And this is a guy that threw 4,000 yards, 23 touchdowns, 5 picks in only 15 games last year. And now he's adding easily a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL in addition to what he had already. So I think that was such a good get for the Texans. And I think that, while he'll hurt Allen and but he won't kill him, I think he will be huge for CJ Stroud in his development.
100%. I mean, like you said, we didn't mention Diggs, but just that wide receiver room right now that's brewing in Houston, and that's going to cause a lot of trouble to all these other teams out here.
The AFC South does have a sleeper team that I'm going to talk about later on when we get to that. But for now, I think this is going to be the quickest segment. AFC
Mm-hmm.
West, Chiefs, right?
I mean, Chiefs, bro. Back to back Super Bowl winners. You have the best quarterback in the game. You have the best tight end in the game. You got the best coach in the game. I mean, what else has to be said? I mean, honestly. And then you throw in Xavier Worthy, which was a steal, by the way. I don't know why Buffalo would do that. Fastest wide receiver in the draft. He plays that. He plays that route. I'm missing. It's a specific name. Slot receiver. God, that's Chiefs, Isaiah Pacheco, Mahomes, everyone.
I'm interested to see how the legs do on the Chiefs. I'm curious if they kind of slow down throughout the season because 2 years of winning a Super Bowl obviously is impressive, but it also takes a toll on the body. But there's no team in this division that's beating them. That's gonna win the division over them. Playoff time could
None.
be a different story, but for now, I think the Chiefs can easily go 13-4. Could be the 1 seed. I honestly don't know who I'm going to pick as the 1 seed. I'm going to be safe right now and pick Baltimore again, but I could see just about any of these division winners doing it. I think these are all 11 to 13 win teams. But
I agree.
let's keep with the AFC right now. Give me your 3 wild cards real quick.
So number one, the Baltimore Ravens. Look, they're gonna make it. I just don't think with the AFC East being as competitive, I just think it's going to take a little bit of a time for Lamar and King Henry to get on the same page. And that's crazy to say because they're arguably top five, both of them in their positions. Well, King Henry being number one, in my opinion. But you get the point.
Yeah.
Number two, Jacksonville Jaguars. Look, we've been singing Trevor Lawrence's praise. I've been seeing him in college. This guy is a really good NFL player. Just takes him a little bit to, I don't know, establish himself sometimes. Sometimes he sleeps for the entire 3 quarters, wakes up in the fourth, and goes crazy. But if you want to be consistent, and I think this is where he needs to take the next leap on, just work on your consistency. And the last one, Harry, you might crucify me for this. The New York Jets.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the Bills miss the postseason this year. I think that franchise goes into panic mode because I just don't see them coming out in the playoffs. Dolphins got better. Jets got better. With Aaron Rodgers leading you, the old gunslinger, you're going to get minimum 10 wins. And just with the way that the AFC's been positioning so far, they're just so much more better teams. I might be wrong, but I just don't have faith. I'm not buying any stock in Buffalo right now. Put me through a table if I'm wrong, but I just don't have no faith in them.
I like those picks. Honestly, the AFC, you could make the argument for about 11 different teams to make it. I'm going to tell you my wild
Honestly,
card picks. First off, I have the Bengals. You have them winning the division. I think, again, I'm assuming they're healthy. I'm assuming we get a healthy Joe Burrow. I'm assuming Jamar Chase's contract situation gets resolved. That team should get right back to where they were in 21 and 22. Secondly, I have the Dolphins. Exact same Dolphins team we're going to get in years past. They're going to start the season on fire. They're going to have ridiculous highlights. They're going to put up ridiculous numbers in the first half of the season. I don't think they win the division. I think they cool off at the end of the year. And I think whoever they play in the playoffs, whether it's Buffalo, Baltimore, Houston, or Kansas City, I don't like them going into a different building and winning a playoff game. I just think it's going to be the same old Dolphins unless something changes, and I'm not seeing it change. And my third wild card, you had the Jets. We could also talk about the Browns. We could talk about the Steelers. We could talk about the Chargers now that they have Jim Harbaugh with Justin Herbert, which I think the upside there is tremendous. I
it
think another
is.
sleeper team is the Indianapolis Colts if Anthony Richardson stays healthy. There's a lot of unknown there, but I think if that works, that could be a team that completely spoils all this. But my sleeper team that I went with is actually the one that you picked as well to make the wild card. I have the Jacksonville Jaguars as the 7th seed. They barely missed out on the playoffs last year. Lawrence took a step back last year. I think if he stayed healthy, they're probably in the playoffs because they collapsed at the end of the season last year. But Lawrence was a number one pick for a reason. He was a generational type prospect, best pick since Andrew Luck for a reason. I think we're just going to finally start to see a little bit more of that on a regular basis. I like Lawrence. I have no reason not to. He seems like a guy that you want to do well. Jacksonville's a team that you want to see do well. All the drama and all the ugliness, for the most part, of years past seems to be gone. It seems like a new era of Jags football, and I think that they're going to get into the playoffs this year and make it as a wild card team.
Well, I got to mention a super team that I don't see making the playoffs, but, and this is the key word, but they will ruin everyone's life because they're going to be picking up wins. They're going to be ending chances for people. Give me the Denver Broncos. Look,
Okay.
Bo Nix being QB number one, I absolutely love it. You finally have some stability because God knows when it comes to quarterbacks for Denver, outside of Peyton Manning, what was it, 2018, 2019, they've been a dumpster fire. No one's been able to stick over there, and they have good pieces. You have Cortland Sutton. You have Jonathan Cooper. I just think Denver, they're just going to be trap games throughout the entire year. They're like, okay, it's a rookie quarterback with a Hall of Fame head coach. How bad could it be? You lose 31-17 type lose, or hell, even a 35-0 lose. Denver isn't going to make the playoffs because that AFC, like you said, is absolutely loaded, but they will end dreams. They will want to be the bad guys. I think Bo Nix with Sean Payton, hey, I got high hopes for them.
I like the sound of that. Honestly, that's a pretty good pick. Bo Nix is maybe the most interesting quarterback this season. I think it's in the most interesting situation of all the rookies. Caleb Williams, they got rid of Fields. That's a given. He should be
Right.
playing well right off the bat. No excuse for him not to. Jaden Daniels isn't expected to do much because the Commanders are kind of a mess right now. Drake May isn't getting the starting job. Michael Penix is getting the starting job. Bo Nix got the starting job. So I'm really curious to see how he does. Sean Payton is a quarterback guru,
I
so
mean,
that
hey,
could play out
they
really
have
well.
faith in their guy.
That's all you need sometimes. All right, we're going to move on to the
Hey,
NFC.
yeah, exactly.
We're going to move on to the NFC East, a division that has not had a repeat division champion since 2004. It's been 20 straight years of division champions not being able to repeat. This year, the defending champion is the Dallas Cowboys. Kenan, do the Cowboys buck the trend and repeat as NFC East champions?
No, simple as that. Because you have the Philadelphia Eagles, you have Jalen Hurts, you have Saquon, you have AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Dotson, Johnny Wilson coming off the bench, Britton Covey, Dallas Goddard. The only thing that I am concerned about for the Philadelphia Eagles is that they don't have their guy. They don't have Kelsey on their center because this guy was serviceable, top 5 center all time, really, really smart, and he created a lot with the tush push. Like when he got down low, he just keeps on going. I want to say that I really thought the Cowboys would win this division, but just looking at this, I mean, you upgraded from running back. You had a Lamborghini. Now you got yourself a cyber Tesla truck, who is a absolute war machine. Look, Barkley, I think this is going to be a really good year for him. Hurts is going to have even more options. I mean, when we see Hurts at his best, he had a decent squad around him, but now they're a couple years older. They're more experienced. Yes, the loss of Jason Kelsey is a tremendous loss, but I think they'll be able to plug the holes. I think the defense is going to hold up really well. Give me Philadelphia. I'm sorry, but the Dallas Cowboys, they're not breaking that back-to-back curse.
I'm with you, dead on. I've got the Eagles winning this division. I think Saquon Barkley is one of the best additions this offseason. I didn't even really talk about Derrick Henry to Baltimore. I love that one too. But I think Saquon is exactly what this Philly team needed. And I think the seat around Nick Sirianni is heating up a little bit. I think he should cool that off a little bit here in the 2024 season. They're going to win the division. I think they're going to go very solid 11-6. The Cowboys will be a game to 2 games behind them. But there's really not a lot of competition in the NFC East out of those two. The Giants are not very good right now. And the Commanders, like we said, Jaden Daniels is a starter, but there's not a lot of expectations on them this year. They're a young up and coming team. I'm going to give them time before I start to put the panic button on them.
Harry, I hate to ask, but Daniel Jones, I think, is the most overrated quarterback in the league. He doesn't deserve a QB1 spot. How many more years, if even a year, do you see him being QB1?
I wouldn't go overrated because I don't think a lot of people are saying he's good, but he is the most overpaid in my opinion.
Overpaid, my mistake.
He's got what, 3 more years left of his contract?
Something like that.
Here's my question. If they move on from him, yeah, you save up the cap space, but who are you putting in there?
I mean, I think they're gonna tank this year. To be honest, try to get a QB out the draft. I mean, I think if I'm the Giants, I'm looking at Cam Ward down there in Miami, who's phenomenal. But it's way too early to hit the panic button. But if they do start to panic, if they start saying, okay, this guy, we just can't win with him, bench him, pull him, get some reps, focus on next year, draft yourself a quarterback one, and then do.
Or we'll call it now and say Arch Manning will be the Giants' starting quarterback in 2027.
I would love that, bro. I
That'd be
would
crazy.
honestly love
But we're going to move on
it.
now
Yep, yep,
to the biggest division in your mind, the NFC North.
yep.
Obviously, your Lions took it home last year for the first time in our lifetime, and they made a pretty great run into the playoffs before falling at the hands of the Niners. Kenan, it's a battle between two teams in all likelihood. It's going to be the Lions or the
It is.
Packers. Which way are
It
you
is.
turning?
Honestly, I'm going to go with the Detroit Lions, but it's going to be close. It's going to be close the entire year. I am all in on Jordan Love as well, and you'll be like, "How is he a Lions fan? You are all in on your division rival quarterback. The guy can play, and if you can play, you got my respect." Look, last year, 4,159 yards, 32 touchdowns, 11 picks. The guy's only going to get better, but we're talking about Detroit here. And this is a new era for us. Goff, Montgomery, Gibbs, St. Brown, Isaiah Williams, Jameson Williams, Khalif, Sam Laporta, and then our 4-3. You got Hutchinson, McNeil, Reeder, Campbell, Davenport, and then obviously you have God's favorite head coach, the man who has steel balls in preseason, regular season, playoffs, off the playoffs, scouting combines, Dan Campbell. Look, this is going to be a dogfight this year. Kind of hold off the Packers, but I have Detroit. I think Aiden Hutchinson on the defensive end, spoiler, is going to be really effing good enough to potentially win some hardware, but we're going to get to that later. But I think St. Brown becomes phenomenal this year. I think he's going to become a top 3 wide receiver. He's top 5 right now for me. Laporta is going to have another really good year. God, when we got him, I loved it. I really did. But we're going to win the NFC North by only 1 game, though. The Packers are going to be knocking. We have to be on our best. And just looking at that entire division, you had the Bears, Caleb Williams, and then you had the Vikings, who unfortunately lost their starting quarterback, J.J. McCarthy. We can't take no games in our division lightly, even if the Vikings don't have their QB, even if Caleb Williams is the first year. If we make one mistake, if we let our foot off the damn pedal, then we're going to get cooked. Green Bay's going to pass us by. But give me the Detroit Lions, baby.
I like it. I like having faith in your team for once. It's nice to be a Lions fan and actually be able to be confident in them. Um, but I'm gonna go with the Packers. I'm buying the stock in Jordan Love. I think Matt Fleur is a damn good head coach. I don't think he gets enough credit because he's had such incredible talent around him. You know, starting his career with Aaron Rodgers
Right.
is pretty good. But I think he showed a lot of what he can do last year, especially down the stretch. That team just annihilated the Cowboys. They went on a tear at the end of the regular season. They put up a good fight against San Fran. Probably should have won that game in all honesty. But it's just something about Green Bay, man. When they start a new era with a quarterback, it doesn't take long for them to bear fruit. Rodgers won a Super Bowl in his 3rd season at the helm, but he missed the playoffs his first year. Love made the playoffs his first year. Who knows what he can do his second year? I really am a believer in Jordan Love. That might be foolish of me to be this high on him this early, but I'm gonna buy it.
I mean, bro, Green Bay just has a track record these last 30, 40 years with quarterbacks. You first had Brett Favre, then you have Aaron Rodgers, and now Jordan Love is looking like a reincarnation of both of them. Way too early to say it, but I am terrified of the guy.
That's the best sign of respect is when a division rival's terrified of you.
I mean, hey, it's just honest to God, bro. Like it's gonna be entertaining to watch, but I already know the amount of heart attacks I am going to have watching Packers Lions this year in both games. God help me. Get the EMS on standby.
Let me ask you. I'm not gonna ask specific stats. What do you think the Bears' record will be this year with Caleb Williams? Because I think we both have him probably winning Roy Offensive Rookie of the Year.
I do have them winning off. What was their record last year? I think it was like what 7? No, no, no. What do you remember their record last year? If I
I
don't,
think it was around 7-10, 6-11.
I think, and what it's like 17 weeks now, 17 games.
Yeah.
I think they go 8-9. I
If
think they go 8-9. I think Caleb's gonna fill in a lot of the issues at the quarterback position that the Bears had. They're not gonna have a winning season, but it's going to have a really good indication on the future, what's to come. God, I mean, this division is only going to get harder. I like it when Caleb is arriving. So will Love. So will McCarthy. God, I might go bald in the next 5 years watching this division by the amount of stress, but it's going to be a very good division. It's going to be the hardest in the NFC. But Caleb Williams, the Bears, 8-9 this year.
so they went 7-10 last year. I'm gonna say they go 9-8, but I don't have them making the playoffs. I think Williams is gonna help them out in a couple close games that they might have lost on basically coin flip games last year. So I think they are going to improve, and I think that things are definitely turning up in Chicago. The Bears might actually finally have a good quarterback for the first time basically ever, but I think that they're a couple of years away from really seeing what they can do with this regime. But I do like Caleb Williams. I think this could be the start of something special. Moving on now to probably the worst division in the entire NFL, and that's the NFC South. Really hard to find an objectively good team in this division. Last year went to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with the rejuvenated Baker Mayfield. Even won a playoff game as they throttled a Philly team that was completely in shambles. So Kenan, a little bit of turnover in this division. Who do you think is going to take it this year?
I mean, originally I had it being the Atlanta Falcons with Kirk coming in. You have Bijan's second year where he's going to take another leap. But growing up, I was watching Baker just absolutely kill guys in college. And now that it seems like he's gotten that confidence back, something that he had a little bit starting off and then everything fell off the rails. And now he's gotten it back with Tampa. I'm gonna say the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they repeat the division.
Okay. I love Baker and I root for Baker. He's been through a lot. I thought he got dealt a bad hand in Cleveland the way he got exiled out of there. I want to see him succeed. It was really cool to see him play that well last year. I am going to go with the Falcons. And I think that if Kirk Cousins stays healthy and he's close enough to the Kirk of old, that's the best quarterback in the division by a mile. Probably a mile is a bit of a stretch, but Derek Carr is about as
Half
average
a
as you
mile.
can get. Um, Baker Mayfield, you really don't know what to expect. And then Bryce Young, the Panthers were horrible last year. Bryce Young has a ton to prove before I even say that they're going to win more than 5 games in a season. So I think the combo of Kirk Cousins, just a veteran guy there, with a young core led by Drake London and Bijan Robinson, I think they'll probably go 9-8. It'll be kind of one of those years where you might not even have a winning team in the division, but I do have the Falcons winning it and being the 4 seed in the playoffs.
I'm not opposed to that, but man, I have so much respect for Baker, everything he's been through. I just want him to succeed. That's all I want.
Honestly, I'm with you.
like
I'm with you right there. I don't. I'd be totally happy if the Bugs prove me wrong, but I just don't. I just couldn't put them in this year.
that is completely understandable, man. But it's gonna be fun, bro. Baker's gonna be Baker. I think he's gonna have another good year. That's just my opinion, though.
I'm with you. I think they could easily prove me wrong, but I just think that he didn't have to contend with
No, yeah.
a quarterback as good as Kirk Cousins last year. And again, Kirk Cousins, just like Aaron Rodgers, who knows how he's going to come back from his Achilles injury. He's not a young guy by any means, but I think that they will be the best team in the NFC South. As we move on to the last division we have to go through today, and that's the NFC West, which was claimed by the 49ers once again last year. Could have easily won the Super Bowl, but they didn't get it done. This is another division that seems like it's down to 2 teams. It's going to be either the Niners or possibly the LA Rams. Kanan, who are you going with?
I'm gonna go with the not the LA Rams. Excuse me. I almost made a complete fool of
Steve
myself.
Harvey at Miss
Yeah, yeah.
Universe.
Oh God, throw the clip up.
Yeah.
But gotta go with the 49ers. Look, man, I think the loss of Aaron Donald is gonna impact this team because that's arguably a top 2 defensive player all time that you lose. And with the 49ers just clicking, I mean, you have Purdy, you have CMC, you have Mitchell, you have Samuel, you have George Kittle, you have BA who just resigned, Jawan Jennings, Ray McLeod. I just think the 49ers are just going to run roughshod through that division, and it's not going to be close. Like I could go into more detail, but if it's clear as day, I'm just going to be clear 49ers.
Yeah, the biggest thing with the Niners for a while was health, and Jimmy G was a guy that had a lot of health issues. That hasn't really been the same with Brock Purdy. He got hurt in the championship game in 2022, but other than that, they've for the most part been all right. The big things that they had to solve this year were getting Ayuk signed and getting Trent Williams signed. Took them last second, but they got done. Um, this is a team that has so many weapons that they don't need Brock Purdy to win an MVP. I think
Mm.
Purdy's going to do everything he needs to do, and Kyle Shanahan's the mastermind on the offensive side in the regular season. No reason why this team shouldn't get it done again for another year, but this is probably the year to do it because they're going to be running into a pretty tough cap situation going into 2025.
Yep.
And moving on now, let's get our wild card picks out of the way.
Well, for wild card, I mean, I'm not going to disrespect them as much as I do hate the guys, but they're going to make the wild card. Dallas Cowboys, they're not going to miss the playoffs. Green Bay Packers, wild card, and the Atlanta Falcons, wild card. I mean, it's just clear as day. Like these are, if the division ends up like that, like with those winners, it's going to be those three teams. I don't think anyone else can really compare with them, and that's just simple, you know.
Yeah, I think we're gonna go 6 for 7 on both conferences. In terms of our playoff teams, the order is way different. I have the
Mm.
Lions making it. I actually have the LA Rams making a wild card. I do think the Aaron Donald loss is going to hurt them, but I think they are loaded enough, especially in the offensive side. Stafford had a really good year last year. McVay's still there. I think they're
Puka.
going to be as competitive as ever. And my last team, once again, there's a couple teams you could go with. You could go with the Bears. You could go with the Seahawks. You could even look at, yeah, I guess I already said the Bears. There's not a lot of great options that are going to miss it compared to the AFC, but I'm going to go with the Cowboys. I think that things would have to go extraordinarily wrong for this team to miss the playoffs. It's not going to be the prettiest thing. I think they're going to be about a 10-7 team, but I do think they make the playoffs.
I mean, they're not going to miss the playoffs. They're just like, how many more seasons can they really accept having a culture like this? That's the thing.
Until Jerry Jones takes a good look in the mirror, and with his age and his history, I doubt that's going to happen anytime soon. But him and Dak Prescott seem like they're on kind of muddy terms. So I'm curious to see how that one plays out. We kind of answered our sleeper teams, just going through them. I went with the Jaguars, but I think the Colts could be another one as well.
I mean, we'll see. I mean, we could be wrong come week 6.
We honestly could be one injury to any of these teams, and they're toast. All right, so let's go with our MVP picks. Who do you have winning the MVP this year?
Spoke high on him early on this episode. Spoke highly of him to you. Joe Burrow claims his first NFL MVP award. I'm gonna go 41 touchdowns, 4,717 yards. I think he's just going to be dotting up defenses. He has a lot to prove this year. He's hungry. Cincinnati's hungry, and they're going to make the Super Bowl, in my opinion.
I like that. So you're going bold. If Burrow's healthy and they're the ones and they win the division, might win the 1 seed, like you were talking about.
Yep.
That has all the makings of Burrow winning the MVP. I like that pick a lot. Past couple years, we've seen a couple guys win the MVP very early on in their career. Lamar Jackson was in his second year. Patrick Mahomes was in his second year, first time as a full starter. That trend's going to continue because CJ Stroud is going to lead the Houston
Ooh.
Texans to the top 2 seed in the AFC, and he is going to ball out. He threw for 23 touchdowns, 5 picks, 4,000 yards last year. In 15 games, he's going to play a full 17 games with a healthy Stephon Diggs as his new number one with Tank Dell, hopefully staying healthy as well. And CJ Stroud is going to win the MVP award.
Dude, that is a great pick. I had CJ next year, but bro, that is a really good pick. That's a bold statement right there.
I'm telling you, I said I went bold with this. I'm glad we're both doing the same thing. Now we're gonna go over to Offensive Player of the Year. I set you up for failure. I forgot to add this one until this morning. So let's see
Oh,
who
good.
your pick is.
I'm just gonna go with old reliable Christian McCaffrey. Look, man, a lot of people are gonna be saying, "Oh, the Madden curse, the Madden curse." bro, forget the Madden curse. This is Christian McCaffrey. This is offense itself. If you need him to run, he'll run. If you need him to catch, he'll catch. Hell, put him behind quarterback. If Brock Purdy can do it, so can he. Um, I just realized I was a shot towards Brock Purdy. I apologize. But look, Chris McCaffrey, man, just so skilled all around. He's going to run rampart through defenders this year. He's going to be a problem in the receiving field as well. I think he repeats it, to be honest. And I don't. When was the last time somebody, if ever, somebody repeated Offensive Player of the Year?
I'm sure there's one. We'd have to go through the list. Let's see if I'm gonna see if I can find it real quick. Marshall Falk looks like won 3 years in a row.
Yeah, and that was what, the 90. Yeah,
90,
90s.
2000, 2001.
Yeah,
The
like when
greatest
we
show
were
on
little
turf.
kids.
Yeah. So that's pretty tall. That's pretty tall cotton to say that he's gonna win it back to back years when it hasn't happened since 2001. But I like the pick a lot. I was pretty down on the Cowboys in this pick, which by the way, I kind of assume nowadays Offensive Player of the Year is basically the best non-quarterback, seeing that a quarterback hasn't won this award since Patrick Mahomes in 2018. I think it's kind of now that basically we've established MVP as a quarterback award, seems like that oh
Right.
poise save for the best of the rest. So I was pretty down on this team. I think they are still going to make the playoffs. This guy was maybe the best at his position last year, and he just signed a big contract. I think that he's going to really start bearing some fruit and live up to the sky high reputation he has. I'm going to go with CeeDee Lamb to win the Offensive Player of the Year for Dallas. I think they need him to step up once again like he did last year, and I think he's going to do that.
And that's a good pick. It's going to be interesting to see if he plays with a little bit of extra fire because I mean, we know what happened in the offseason. You know, contract negotiations kind of hit the snare, but they got it eventually. It's going to be he's going to come out with a chip on his shoulder, 100%. He's going to be cooking defenses.
I think so. Let's go over to your Defensive Player of the Year pick.
Well, I'm going to go. I know I mentioned Aiden Hutchinson potentially winning some hardware, and before we started this, that was my pick, as unbiased and a little bit of biasness. But then I remembered TJ Watt exists, a man that should have won last year, in my opinion. It was close, but I think, in my opinion, he was a better defensive player than Miles Garrett. I think TJ is just going to win another one. I think he's going to have around 15, 16 sacks. He's not going to be close to that 22 mark where he did, what was it, 2021?
2020, 21. I think it was 21.
2020, 2021. I mean, 22 and a half sacks, no matter what you do, is absolutely incredible. I think he's going to win it this year as well.
I like that pick.
TJ Watt.
Do you think you don't have the Steelers in the playoffs? If you're right on that, do you think that would hurt Watt in the Defensive Player of the Year voting?
I mean, not really, because they're gonna know, like, okay, look, TJ had to deal on the defensive side of the ball, and the offensive side of the ball is a complete mystery. Look, TJ is gonna do his thing. He's gonna hold down that middle. He's gonna make running backs fear him. He's gonna make the offensive linemen fear him. Quarterbacks fear him. This Pittsburgh Steelers defense, they're still gonna be great because if there's one thing Pittsburgh is good at, it's hard hitting people. I can see a little bit of it being like, oh, well, they didn't make the playoffs. Well, yeah, because you really don't have a sense of offensive direction. I know I mentioned, like, it's good to have options in your quarterback room, dual threat versus traditional slinging in the pocket. I mean, how it can't sustain, well, I should say, but I don't think the offensive side of the struggles for the Steelers is going to impact TJ. To be honest, I really don't.
Yeah, fair enough. I think Watt's a really good pick. He's obviously a top five defensive player in the league, pretty easily. But
Mhm.
this guy is too, and he is going to make the playoffs. I think it's going to be the second career Defensive Player of the Year award for Nick Bosa. I mean, you name it, he's about as dominant defensive player that the NFC has to offer. 18 and a half sacks back in 2022, only 10 and a half last year. But that Niners defense is one of the best in the league. It's one of the most intimidating in the league, and
Yeah.
Nick Bosa is a huge part of that. They were third in the league last year in points against, and like I said, he's a big part of that. So I think nothing too much is going to change on that end, and Nick Bosa is going to pick himself up some more hardware this year.
I mean, it's gonna be interesting, bro, because like I think it's gonna come down to our guys, to be honest. Like
I think so. I think
from
Garrett's going to be pretty good. I think Micah Parsons is
oh
going to
yeah,
be pretty competitive as well. Injuries, heaven forbid there's any injuries there. But I think I think we kind of have some consensus best players in the defensive side that are going to keep competing for these awards going forward. Okay, so before
100%.
we go to the Super Bowl matchup, let's go to our locks and upsets for week one of the season.
Hey, do you want to start us off here, or should I?
Sure, I'll start us off on this one. So for my lock, I have the Dolphins beating the Jags. I talk about the Dolphins. I have these both in the playoffs, but the Dolphins always start the season on fire, and I don't see any reason why they wouldn't be able to do that once again this year. Um, like I said, this is a pretty rejuvenated offense. We know what Tua can do. We know what Tyreek Hill can do. We know what Jaden Waddle can do. The fact that they're playing in Miami too, they always start the season well in Miami. So I don't see any reason why the Dolphins won't win that game. And for my upset, we're going to go to Monday night. Last year on Monday Night Football, Aaron Rodgers tore his Achilles at the first drive, like 5 minutes into the season.
Yep.
And wouldn't you know it, his Jets are plus 175 on Monday night on the road against the team that has killed him his entire career, the San Francisco 49ers. What better storyline than for Rodgers to come back on Monday Night Football, his first full game with the Jets, and finally be able to beat his longtime nemesis in the San Francisco 49ers? That is going to be my upset for the week.
I mean, couldn't write it better myself. I hope he does win. So for my lock, I'm going back to Detroit. Rams versus Lions. Lions, we knocked them out last year in the playoffs. They're going to be coming back for revenge, but hey, this is a new Detroit. Like I've said multiple times this episode, they're going to come in. They're going to come in hungry. They're going to come in ready, but it's still not going to be enough. We're going to rock them, sock them, knock them back to LA. My upset, the Cleveland Browns defeating the Dallas Cowboys, and this is going to be Jerry Jones hitting the panic button early. Cleveland, I don't have them going far at all this season. I think they're just stuck in a limbo. But Detroit's going to come, not Detroit, Dallas is going to come in expecting the easy win. Cleveland's going to knock them early, stun them, and then come at the end of the game. Dak Prescott, another 3-interception masterclass. Micah, is going to not even shake hands. He's just going to hop on his podcast and be like, well, yeah, I mean, they just aren't that good. They got lucky. Look, Cleveland, it's not even close. That's my upset right there.
I like it. So you got the Lions beating the Rams, and you've got the Browns beating the Cowboys.
Yep.
All right, I like that pick. Now we're going to go to our Super Bowl matchups. This is the moment we've all been waiting for. We're going to see if we're right in about 5 months' time. Kenan, who will be the Super Bowl matchup and who will be the winner?
You know, a lot of people talk about in the jungle, Tigers reign supreme.
Okay.
Or Bengals or a Lion. Well, I'm going to be honest. If it's a Bengal versus a Lion, give me the Lion 10 times out of 10. It's going to be the Detroit Lions versus the Cincinnati Bengals, and Detroit's going to claim their first Super Bowl. Look, I love Joe Burrow, but I love Detroit more. We're going to show them that, hey, we run the NFL now, that we're going to be the team to beat until Patrick Mahomes and company, show up. And, other than that, that's tough, but we play them extremely well. Detroit, Cincinnati, Super Bowl, lock that in. Lions become the king of the jungle.
I like that. You got the Lions over the Bengals. All right.
Yep.
2017, Tom Brady wins MVP, loses Super Bowl. 2016, Matt Ryan wins MVP, loses Super Bowl. 2015,
who
am I trying to think of? Cam Newton wins MVP, loses Super Bowl. 2024, CJ Stroud wins MVP, Texans lose Super Bowl to Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers. I have the Packers beating the Texans in the Super Bowl this year. Kenan, I am sorry. I did not want to do this to you on a Wednesday morning. I know you're a Lions fan. Either way, the NFC North is going to win the Super Bowl this year. I am buying all the stock in Jordan Love being Aaron Rodgers 2.0. Him and Matt LaFleur are going to run roughshod on the NFC in the playoffs. and they are going to hold off a hard-charging Texans team and win another Lombardi trophy.
Seeing a cheesehead lift that trophy again is going to make me absolutely sick. I will gladly go 0-16 for the next 30 years if that means that the Packers won't win anything. But hey, it's a hipster Super Bowl.
Hey,
That's the point of it.
I label it hipster Super Bowl pick, not just Super Bowl matchup, hipster Super Bowl matchup. So
I know, but just even it
makes your skin
just
crawl.
makes my skin crawl, my stomach grumble, and it's repulsive towards me. But
That's a pretty good hypothetical then, if it makes your skin crawl that bad.
oh god, I can already see you like mailing me like Packers gear, and like I'm gonna be able to scream so loud you're gonna hear me
Send you some
states
cheese
away.
head, send you some nice Gouda. All
Hey
right, well,
man, I like cheese. Look,
hate a cheese head though. Can't do a cheese head.
my bad. You kind of cut out for a second.
No, you're good. I said you hate a cheese head though.
I hate cheese heads, but look, man, when it comes to some good old cheese, bro, just I can eat that all day.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. Kenan's going to have the Lions finally winning the Super Bowl over the Bengals, and I'm taking the Packers over the Texans here this year to win the Lombardi Trophy. Kenan, thanks for doing this. This was fun.
Of course,
And
bro.
for those that want to know, where can we find you?
Well, in the next upcoming few weeks, I plan on releasing the Bjelevac Fast Break, 30 minutes or less. Get in, get out with all your NBA facts, information, team updates, player updates, everything you could ever want in a basketball podcast. 30 minutes or less. Bjelevac Fast Break coming soon. Logo will be releasing by Friday morning. Watch out for that. I worked pretty hard for it.
Yeah, we'll put the link to that in the description once that is up and running. So we're going to call that good for now. Shades of unsportsmanlike content back at Old Missouri Western State University. Kenan and I agree to disagree. But that's my buddy Kenan Bjelevac. My name is Harry Loomis. Thank you once again for watching the Harry Loomis Show, and we will talk to you again soon. I don't know why I didn't show.
This is the Harry Loomis Show.